I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, help this man. Lord, I am just a simple man.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على الرسول الصادق الأمين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam from all around the world, welcome to this very special live episode of our program, One Step Closer. One step closer, as we said, my dear brothers and sisters, in every single episode we try to take a step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a step closer to our ultimate goal, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and our ultimate destination, which we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst His dwellers, paradise, Jannah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, is a very exciting episode, because the topic that we're talking about is a topic that influences a lot of us as Muslim youth. And maybe you can see I'm dressed a little bit casual today compared to other days you've seen me on this program. Part of it has to do with the topic that we're talking about. We're talking about, my dear brothers and sisters, the haram relationships that start between brothers and sisters who are brothers and sisters in Islam, and it starts between them before marriage. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the 16-year-old brother who has gotten to know the 15-year-old sister who maybe was at his Islamic school, and they started chatting on Facebook, or they started sending emails to each other, and now they've developed a relationship where they are saying, we are not boyfriend and girlfriend, but we have an intention to get married. We're starting a relationship and we're treating each other just like fiancés, but we're not married. But we do have the intention to get married. Such a dangerous topic, my dear brothers and sisters, that we're talking about tonight, something that influences a lot of us as Muslim youth. I'm also talking about a brother who, has just started college. He's maybe 18, or maybe he's in his second year of college and he's 19, and he's gotten to know a sister on campus who maybe he met her through the MSA, the Muslim Students Association, or some sort of Islamic organization that they're working in together, and they've developed this love for each other. And they've developed this relationship without even knowing that they've developed it. Maybe they just started talking in the beginning about Islam, and later on the relationship continued moving forward, and now they fell in love. And they're going through this situation. I'm talking to the brothers and I'm talking to the sisters. Tonight we're talking about the harms of these relationships, and how these relationships are really from the shaitan, and what are the Islamic alternatives to these types of relationships, and how we can avoid them if we are involved in these relationships, or if we're not involved in these relationships. Before we begin, I want to tell you a story. Okay, maybe a lot of brothers and sisters can relate to this story. The story goes like this. A brother who was maybe 15 or 16 years old at the time, and he had nothing to do with anything when it comes to girls. But all his friends were involved in haram relationships with other Muslim girls. I want you to get me right. I'm not here tonight talking about the quote-unquote regular boyfriend-girlfriend relationship that we all know. That, oh dad, this is my girlfriend and I'm bringing her home for lunch today, or bringing her home for dinner. Or, oh dad, who you're talking to? Oh, I'm talking to my boyfriend on the phone. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about secret haram relationships. Relationships between a Muslim brother and most likely a Muslim sister, who've established this relationship, and their intention inside of their mind and inside of their head is that they're doing it not because they want to do the haram, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, not because they want to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because they want to follow the way of the Westerners and just have a typical boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but instead they don't want to do that. What they do want to do is they want to get married. They want to get engaged. But not now though. A little bit later. Just a little bit later. Why? Because, he's still in college, and she's still in high school, or she's in college as well, and they still have a few years to go, and he can't propose to her right now. Or maybe he lives in this country and she lives in this other country, and they're just getting to know each other first over the internet until they're able to know each other better, and he's able to get a visa so he can travel and propose to her family. All these types of relationships. But what is happening at that time when people are getting to know each other, quote unquote? everything that happens between a husband and a wife in terms of words, and many times the situation continues and the steps of the shaitan continue until it turns into a physical relationship. And if you're watching me tonight, you're in either one of two categories. You're either in the category of someone who is involved in one of these types of relationships, or someone who is not involved in one of these types of relationships. So inshallah, we're going to talk about that tonight with my very special guest, Sheikh Zainadine Johnson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
Jazakallah khairan for taking the time to be with us and to talk about such an important subject for all Muslim youth.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you, brother.
Alhamdulillah. We said, there's no one better than a young sheikh to talk to us about this issue. Someone who knows our culture, someone who knows the struggles that we go through, someone who knows about all the raging hormones of youth, and not only the hormones, but really the feeling of being loved by someone, especially for sisters, is a feeling that may many times lead them into haram relationship.
Yes, brother. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. The haram relationship, brother, is something that's affecting a great number of our Muslim brothers and sisters all around the world today.
I mean, is it really that big of a problem, or am I exaggerating?
No, brother, you only have to look at some fatwa websites and just look up just how many people are asking about it, how many people have fallen into this error. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created man, and from man He created woman. And He created between them an inclination.
An attraction.
An attraction, brother, that's it. But this attraction Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created is a mercy. It's a blessing for us. Because one day, inshallah ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it so that one day we may have a special person in our life. That person that we will live with, inshallah, for the rest of our life. That person that we will have compassion, and they will have compassion for us. This is the reason for this attraction that we have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, brother, He says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَالرَّحْمَةً. From His signs, He has created from you wives or spouses, so that you may live amongst them, and you may have between you love and mercy.
So love is not against Islam?
Love and mercy, brother, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for us. He wants us to have love and mercy. But the place where many of us are falling into error, many of us are going wrong today, is how exactly do we get to that point? How do we find that special person? How do we find that person that inshallah will be with for the rest of our lives? That person that will be the mother or the father of our children.
So what you're saying is that the aim that we're going towards is not wrong, but the means that we're going through is wrong. So where did we go wrong in the means?
Brother, you see, wherever we have a haram relationship, we always have a haram beginning. Now I call it the red line.
SubhanAllah. Let me re-quote that. When we have a haram relationship, we really have a haram beginning. So one of the ways to know that the relationship that you're involved in is a haram relationship is if it had a haram beginning.
That's right, brother. I call it overstepping the red line, where the halal finishes and the haram begins. The Prophet ﷺ, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us about overstepping that red line. Sometimes it can be overstepping just by a couple of words, or even a facial gesture. But it is overstepping that red line. And the Prophet ﷺ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, warned us about this in the Quran. He said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. Do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Verily, he is a sworn enemy to you.
The steps. So we're talking about, when it comes to this specific situation, we're talking about it all starts with a smile, and then it moves on to looking at that person for a long time, and then it moves on to maybe a message on the internet. Even if it's for a halal purpose, you're asking about something Islamic, or you're asking for something valid. And then it moves from there to a phone call, and then it moves from starting a relationship, and then it moves from from there to saying I love you, and then it could move to further things like physical attraction.
That's right, brother. Shaitan, he's very cunning. He doesn't, when he wants to call you to a big sin, and he wants to destroy you, of course, he's your enemy. But when he wants to call you to do a big sin, he will not start by telling you to go and commit zina or adultery or fornication. No. The shaitan will slowly bring you towards that level, towards that goal of his, which is the destruction for us. So he will continue to try and bring you slowly towards that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us again in the Quran, especially about fornication and adultery. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, about fornication and adultery, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَحِشَةً وَسَاءَ السَّبِيلَ. Do not come near to zina, for verily it is an evil thing and the worst of paths. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not saying to you, don't commit adultery. He's saying to you, don't even come close to it.
وَلَا تَقْرَبُ الزِّنَا. It's such an amazing say. Do not come near it. As you said, don't even come near the red line.
That's right, brother. Yeah. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses such beautiful lafz, such beautiful words, example, do not even come close. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created you. He created me, He created all of us. He knows what is in our hearts. And He knows, brother, that when that flame begins to burn inside the human being, that flame of lust or love or attraction, that it is extremely hard to extinguish.
And your eyes are going to become blind, and your mind is going to become blind, and your desires are going to kick in, and you're going to start acting on that. And at the same time, subhanAllah, we begin justifying our actions. This is really the point that we want to talk about right here in just a moment. The justification that the shaitan puts in our minds and in our hearts of what we're doing, that we are involved in this haram relation. Let me just remind brothers and sisters of our phone numbers. We'd love for you to join us in this extended discussion segment. This is a very important topic tonight. It doesn't only influence Muslim youth, it influences adults as well. Men who get involved in haram relationships with other women other than their wives, sisters who start, talking to a brother over the internet or somewhere, somewhere else at work or something like that, about problems that are happening with her husband, and then she starts becoming attached to that brother because he's listening to her, he's more compassionate than her husband, and then we go from there to the road of destruction. Whether we're talking to youth who haven't got married yet, and we're talking to brothers and sisters who are married, who are involved in these types of relationships, and we're talking about their harms and how we can avoid them. 002-0238-555, 248 or 249 is our phone number. Inshallah, pick up the phone and join us in this discussion, inshallah. Ask us your questions and your comments. Also through Skype at Huda_TV. Huda_TV. Sheikh Zain, we justify these types of relationships. I say that I'm not doing it because I'm a bad person who wants to do the haram, who wants to, get physically involved with this girl. I'm looking for a good wife. But how can I know her before getting to know her, right? How am I supposed to get married to her before getting to know her? But I don't have the means right now to get married. So let me just talk to her on the internet for a few weeks, and those few weeks turn into months, and then we'll get married sometime in the future.
Brother, Islam protects the women, protects the sisters. Sisters are not something that we deal with for a little while and then we go on to the next one. No, Islam basically has the ruling that if you're serious, if you really love this girl, then put your money where your mouth is. You have to marry this girl, and you have to pay the dowry. But you see, brother, as you said, sometimes it's difficult in a situation where you don't know the person. And this, inshallah, we'll talk about a little later on. But the fact is that when you don't know a person, it can be a little bit scary, and this happens to many people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the right. There is difference of opinion on whether you are allowed to do this or not, of course. But that is that you can actually sign the contract. You can sign a contract of marriage and delay the consummation of the marriage. This is one way that people could get to know each other, and this can be one of the conditions of the marriage.
One of the harms of these premarital relationships is that many times sisters, their hearts get broken. And I'm sure that a lot of my sisters are watching right now, they understand exactly what I'm talking about. You keep talking to this brother for a few months on the internet or in person or whatever the situation may be, the relationship develops, you start saying love words, you start doing these types of things, and then you get to a point where you actually fall in love with this person. Maybe you haven't even seen his picture, or maybe you just saw a picture and you haven't seen him in real life, but you have real feelings for this person. And at the end of the day, you find out that this person was playing with you. Who's to blame in that situation, the sister or the brother?
Oh, obviously, both people fall into error there. But what we have to learn is to extinguish it from the start, to not get involved in such a thing. That is what will extinguish this problem of falling in love and etc. Is, as I said, going back to the start.
Go fall in love in the haram way, because as you said, there is a halal way of falling in love.
That is right, brother, of course. There's different ways of falling in love, okay? One of the ways that Ibn al-Qayyim said, which is something that a lot of people today, actually, it happens to them, and that is the accidental way of falling in love, okay? Not searching on the internet for Mrs. Right or anything like that. No, I'm talking about somebody who happens to be just walking, minding his own business, and then maybe he just glances and sees a beautiful woman that attracts his heart, and he can't get that out of his heart. This is one way that is called the accidental love. And of course, the way that this happens to many people, but the way we go about trying to get in contact with that sister, this is what it's all about. Trying to get in contact with that sister. How can I get in contact with that sister to let her know how I feel? That's where we're going wrong, brother. What we have to do is follow the rules of Islam in this. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very clear to us throughout the Quran and the Sunnah how we should deal about this situation. The situation of if we want to marry somebody.
Jazakallah khair. SubhanAllah, one of the biggest harms of haram relationships, as we just mentioned, and you said, really the best way is to get to know the person through the halal way. And the haram relationship starts with having a haram beginning. Most of the time, Sheikh Zain, I'll be honest with you, I'm one of the Muslim youth and I know exactly how men think. Okay? If they get something for cheap, then they treat it as dirt cheap. If they get something for cheap, then they treat it as dirt cheap. And when we're talking about cheap, we're not talking about how much the dowry is going to be or anything like that. What I really mean by cheap is not going through, meeting with the dad of that person and going and proposing and presenting yourself and trying to make a case for yourself why this family should allow you in their home and they should allow you to marry their daughter. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about any finances here. Because someone can marry, can be in a relationship with a sister in a cheap way, and he's spending on her every single day. He's taking her out to dinners, he's buying her even a car and other things, right? But subhanAllah, but at the same time, that person is treating her as dirt cheap. What I mean by that is that just like he got involved with you and he found out how easy it was to get involved with you, he's going to sell you out, and he's going to go to another girl. And maybe he's a player and he's dealing with multiple girls at the same time, especially on the internet. I know people, I know brothers who can be chatting with 2 or 3 or 4 girls at the same time. All of them are in love with him and he's just playing with all of them. He's just wasting time.
Yeah, brother, I have to tell you something about what I've learnt after living in the Middle East for many years and going to the internet cafes to send my emails. Always when I'm in the internet cafes, I always see people next to me smoking and talking to women on the internet.
Yeah.
Talking to women, especially convert women. They're looking for one thing, and that is the passport.
Yes.
And these
play
guys,
with their minds and they play with their hearts.
when the time of prayer comes, they don't go for prayer. They're still sitting there. But they're telling this person on the phone, on the internet, they're telling her that, yes, they know Quran, yes, they're Muslim and they know Quran and they know all this, but in fact, it is a lie. Yes, they're Muslim and they might know a little bit of Quran, but they're not even going to the prayer.
Subhanallah.
This happens many times, brother.
Jazakallah khairan. Brother Ayman from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Yes, I want to ask a question, please.
Please.
Yes, I have a friend, a girl, but she is not muhaggaba, but she knows Quran and she knows to read Quran, but not for relation like zina, for relation like as a friend. Is this forbidden or not forbidden, especially in Ramadan?
Jazakallah khairan.
And my second question is, I want to tell me the explanation of the ayah in the Quran. وَقُلْ لِلنِّسَاءِ أَنْ يَغْضُضْنَ الْأَبْصَارِ. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khairan. The first question is about, I guess, one of the entrances to these haram relationships, establishing a relationship with a girl. He mentioned that she doesn't wear hijab and other things, but I don't think that's really of a concern. The idea of having a relationship that, as he said, not a zina relationship, I'm guessing what he means is it's not a kind of an intimate relationship or something related to emotions, just as friends with the opposite gender. What does Islam say about that?
Brother, when we're talking about the opposite sex, it is actually not even permissible for a Muslim to speak to a woman that is not his mahram. When I say to speak, except for a necessity. Except for a necessity. A necessity, brother, could be that you're working together, and it could be that you're doing a project and you need to speak about the project.
Exactly. About work, not about everything else other than work.
That's right. It could be also even just that you're doing a dawah project even. Or it could even be that you just need somebody to move the car. Sister, can you please move your car? Okay, this is permissible in Islam. But what is not permissible is to go outside of that general conversation. And a lot of the time, like I said, just a few words, is that footstep to shaitan. For example, so how was your night last night? That now has gone outside.
Yes.
That's gone outside of that general conversation.
Exactly.
So the answer to the brother about having a friend that is a female is not permissible in Islam.
Jazakallah khairan. We have a video that I want to share with you and especially all of our sisters, about a brother, a Muslim brother, who was talking to multiple sisters at the same time. Forgive us because the text messages that he's sending are in Arabic, but we'll translate them inshallah when we come back. But it's relating to exactly what we're talking about. I want to tell you something before we take this video. My dear sisters, it is much, much, much harder, okay, to fix a broken heart than it is to fix a broken arm or a broken leg. And I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at this video, inshallah.
I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. In a cave in Mount Hira, the revelation came. Read, O Muhammad, read in Allah's name. May the blessings of Allah be on Al-Mustafa. None besides him could have been Al-Mujtaba. Muhammad, peace be upon his soul. The greatest of prophets, Islam was his only goal. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. From among all the prophets, Muhammad was the last, as his was a mission of the greatest task. There was only moral degeneration. People clung to idol adoration. For all nations he was Al-Mukhtar. So Lord, I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand.
Especially my dear sisters, this is a message for you. What he was writing in there in Arabic, I translated it as he was saying it. It says, I never loved anyone but you. A very famous statement used by a lot of guys to try to hook up with a lot of girls at the same time. And I'm sorry, sisters, but I know that you're looking for the right person. But believe me, a person who's talking to you in the haram way, who's not coming to meet your dad, who's not coming to have a conversation with your dad and to propose to you, is not really the man that you're looking for. He's a boy. And that's why, in the West, these relationships, they're called boyfriend. These people are called boyfriend because they're not men. We can't really call them men friend, right? They're just boys who are just playing around most of the time. And what they're doing is that they end up hurting our dear sisters. Sister Yara, assalamu alaikum. Sister Yara's calling us through Skype. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Sister Yara, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yes, brother. I have a question.
Please.
Yes, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Brother, I have one question.
Go ahead, sister.
Is it allowed for...
Is it allowed for?
Is it allowed in Islam that a secret marriage, and if we are involved from this one, how we can correct it?
I didn't get the question. Did you get it?
A secret marriage?
You said secret marriage, right?
It's allowed in Islam that we do the secret marriage and...
You mean without the wali, sister?
Are you talking, when you mean a secret marriage, are you talking without a wali and without informing the public?
Secret marriage, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll answer you inshallah, sister. Jazakallah khairan. Brother Abdul Qadir, assalamu alaikum.
Hello?
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Yes, and this is Abdul Qadir.
Yes, Mrs. Abdul Qadir, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Please.
You're talking about love marriage and all. So, we are married already, but we had a love marriage, and we were working together. After 9 years, we are married. So, is there any problem in our marriage? Yani Allah will punish or something?
You were married the love marriage, right? Well, what's called the love marriage, right?
Yes. We used to speak, we used to meet outside without our parents' knowledge. So,
Are you married Islamically in the correct way, inshallah?
pardon?
Are you married Islamically in the correct way right now?
Yes, Islamically, nikah. Everything according to Islam.
Okay, we'll answer inshallah.
Were they both praying when they got married?
The Sheikh is asking if both of you were praying at the time that you got married.
Pardon?
Were both of you people who prayed at the time that you got married?
Pray?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are Muslim, we are praying everything, but
MashaAllah.
we used to speak with each other, we used to go outside, and
Okay. I get your point. I got
after a
your
long
point.
time we are married. But we don't speak with any other person, same, we continue together.
Beautiful question. Jazakallah khairan. We'll answer it bi'idhnillah ta'ala. The first question is talking about the secret marriage. Is there such a thing in Islam?
There's no secret marriage that's secret to the wali. In Islam, you have to have a wali. And Aisha radiallahu anha said that the women who do not, and this is very harsh, the women who do not have, who get married without a wali are the prostitutes. This is the words of Aisha radiallahu anha. So definitely, that cannot be like that. Also, if it comes to the rest of the people, you don't have to tell everybody, but it is from the Sunnah, and it is something from Islam to show that you are married, because otherwise people will have suspicion on you. Okay, so that is your answer on that.
Jazakallah khair. Sister was also asking about, she's done haram with her husband in terms of the beginning of the relationship before they got married. Now, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided them and they are married. Does that invalidate their marriage in any way?
It doesn't invalidate the marriage, but it is upon her to make tawbah, to repent for what they did beforehand, and basically just to try a true repentance. A true repentance is obviously to not do it again, which they cannot, but to stop the action and to really feel in their hearts that they did something wrong. And that is the true repentance, to feel that they did something wrong and to stop the action. So for this sister, she should feel in her heart that she did something wrong and ask Allah to forgive her, and then inshallah and continue her life, and not only her but also the husband as well.
Yes. Jazakallah khairan. We asked my dear brothers and sisters, brothers on the streets, especially youth, why they think a lot of Muslim youth get involved in these types of haram relationships. Let's take a look at their answers, inshallah.
I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand.
The person who performs this is well aware about that the deed he's doing is haram. And he's also very convinced about Islam is the truth, but he does it anyway. He follows his hawa and his lust, and he's very aware about this.
I think a lot of it does with like the media culture, like the movie culture from outside, and people think that's okay, they watch and they get too much addicted, like we also said. So, and people they don't have like taqwa, they're not conscious of God, not fear God. They just let them misuse.
I think a fundamental thing is actually the idea that you've mentioned about movies, soap operas, these types of things build a false notion of what relationships are. They're built on a very superficial basis, or whether it's looks, whether it's material, whether it's a nice car, lots of money. So firstly, that's the problem in the way that we approach relationships. And secondly, is the fact that every single place you go around you find there's an arousal of instincts because of the way that women are perceived, the way that women are viewed, and the way that every single thing you see advertised views women in a certain way, and that builds a picture in a person's mind in terms of the type of relationship he wants.
We can protect ourselves from haram by looking into the Quran. What are the prohibited things from the Quran, and what are the prohibited things from the tradition of the Prophet? And knowing all these, we try to abstain from them.
The Prophet ﷺ said you have to fast when you're young, and then just try to be like more in the masjid with people, like with your own own sex, not the opposite. Just be.
A very important thing is firstly obviously pursuing knowledge. Secondly, staying in a positive atmosphere. You are on the deen of your friends. It's a narration by the Prophet ﷺ, and we find that if someone is surrounded by a good atmosphere, good company, people who have a positive benefit on them, and advise them in the correct way, we'll find that they will stay away from that type of atmosphere. But if we put ourselves in difficult situations, it's very difficult to stay away from haram.
Lord, I am just a simple man, trying hard to
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward these brothers for their valuable thoughts, mashallah. Sister Khadija, assalamu alaikum.
How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I just want to make a couple of comments. From my experiences of knowing sisters, sometimes there is a factor of having pressure from the family, from friends, from society about getting married. So sometimes because they don't want to be hooked up with a cousin or somebody that their parents choose, they decide they want to find somebody for themselves because they want to consider all these factors of if they're attracted to that person or so they go into these haram relationships trying to build a relationship with somebody that they can get married to. And I think that factor, that pressure from family and society is also a factor. Also, I sometimes think that with sisters, it's very hard in the family, especially with the dads and the brothers. The brothers or the dads, they don't seem to take care of the girls very much in the family.
Yes.
What they're doing and what they're getting up to, and sometimes the sisters, they don't seem to have that love and affection in the family from maybe the males in the family.
Yeah, so subhanAllah, when they can't find it at home, they need it, so they go elsewhere to find it, someone that listens to them.
Yeah, of course, that support and that attention and affection, and especially as they're growing up, for the girls as they're growing up, and they don't get that attention from their dad and that affection from the brothers or that care, they just go out into society and look for it. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it is a factor that just comes.
I mean, it is an excuse, Sister Khadija, but it's not a valid excuse.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for your valuable thoughts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Obviously, I mean, this is an issue that has many reasons and many causes. But at the end of the day, I think what we want to say tonight is no matter what your excuse is, no matter what the problem is, no matter if it's society, no matter if you don't have money to get married, whatever it is, that does not mean that you can get involved in the haram. And at the same time, if you do, wallahi, the consequences are going to be very bad for you in this life and in the next life. So you're going to miss out on everything. I mean, a lot of people who have these haram relationships, they never end up getting married. The statistics show that more than 99% of these premarital haram relationships never end up in marriage. One of the two sides backs out. And usually it's the male, because as we said, people are taking it for cheap. You know, if a brother gets something for cheap, then he's not going to be valuing it for the rest of his life. You have a few stories, I think, that relate to this situation.
Yeah, brother, I do have a couple of stories that I'd like to share. And these are true stories, not stories that we've made up. The first is a sister who was known to be a religious, pious sister. Her parents knew her as religious, the people around her knew her as religious, and one day, one of the young boys in the neighborhood, his father passed away. And he was busy mucking around with his friends, doing haram things, going out and doing all haram. And the mother of this boy told this sister about it, and she felt it in her heart that she would go and give him some advice. So she went and she gave some advice to this boy, and told him that now he's the man of the family, and basically gave him some dawah. And then she left and she went back to her house.
And something went wrong from there, probably. We'll talk about it in just a second after we take this phone call from Sister Selma. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Yes, sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
I just only have one question.
Yes.
After this girl, her husband died, okay? And after 1 week after he died, and she found the divorce papers of the husband that's been married and divorced. But, okay, the husband never used to be out of the house. He's every night in the house, okay? At 9 o'clock he's in the house. But now what type of marriage is this?
Unfortunately, I'm not. The phone line is not very clear. Can you repeat? I mean, I got what type of marriage, but what's the story? Can you repeat it for us, please?
The point is, the husband was married 2 years before he died. Okay.
Okay, he was married 2 years before he died. Let's take it one step at a time.
He was married to another woman.
Okay.
2 years before he died.
Okay.
And after his death, then she found divorce papers of the husband that he was married 2 years prior to his death. But he was never out of the house with husband, and he's always at 9 o'clock at night he's in the house wherever he goes. So what type of marriage is this?
Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Sister Salma. I'm not able, honestly, to understand the question fully. I'm going to try to review the tape. If we're able to get it, inshallah, I'll try in a future episode to answer it, inshallah. Sister Amatul Rahman from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Sister Amatul Rahman. Unfortunately, it looks like we have a problem in the line. Inshallah, try to give us a call back, sister. Sheikh Zain, I'm sorry to cut you off in the story. So she went with the intention of giving the brother da'wah because he was facing a difficulty. His father had passed away. What happened from there?
Okay, she returned to her house, and a few weeks later, some time later, the mother of the boy called her and said, "Thank you very much, that he has now changed. He's praying, he's on the right track again." Now, the problem starts here. One day, the boy turned up, he's a man now, he turned up to her house and wanted to thank her. And she opened the door and saw it was him. And she said, "I don't know what made me let him in, but he sort of felt like he was my little brother. So I let him in the house." And we sat down and he began to thank me, and we're talking drinking shay, and one thing led to another until we committed adultery, we committed fornication.
SubhanAllah. From the first meeting?
After the dawah.
After the dawah. First meeting inside of her house.
That's right.
SubhanAllah.
And now, and this is a true story, from that she became pregnant. And as I said, she was a person known for her religiousness. She has asked for this fatwa about what she should do now. Her life is in turmoil. She said that her mother and father will never accept this. Never accept that this man who is much younger than her and is also not from her nationality, and her life now is in turmoil. And look at it, she has lost her virginity. She has now fallen into such an error, just from following a few of the evil footsteps of shaitan.
SubhanAllah. Jazakallah khairan. Brother Antonio from the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Go ahead, brother.
My question pertains to searching a spouse via the internet. For example, if a person has searched a spouse via different methods, first of all Islamic methods, he has consulted his environment, his parents, and the people from the mosque, the imam, for example, but he hasn't been able to search to find a spouse, or the people around him haven't been able to help him. Is it permissible then to search a spouse via the net?
Okay, when the spouse on the internet, are you talking directly to that spouse?
Yes.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Barakallahu feek. We talked about this a few minutes before the episode, and we said we know this is going to come up, such a big issue, the issue of matrimonial websites. Now today we do everything over the internet, so why not search for a spouse?
There's obviously a shortage of sisters over there in the Netherlands, but you see, brother, once again, when you are going to look for a spouse, look for a wife, okay, you have to still, even if you happen to go through one, I mean, there are so many today, so many matrimonial websites and things like this. Some of them are okay. Some of them try very hard to keep it halal by using the wali. You don't contact the sister. You don't contact the sister herself. You contact the wali of this sister.
So I think this is the key to answering this question. Any website where you're in direct contact between the brother and the sister is putting her picture online, or revealing facts about herself, like the color of her hair and these types of things, then this is not correct. But a website where the man is talking to another man, this is what we need to understand, is that the right relationship in Islam doesn't start between a man and a woman. Okay, even if you have feelings for her, you don't go and talk to her. You go talk to her man at that time until you become her man. That's a step in the future. Okay,
that's right, brother.
And subhanallah, it's something for the brothers and something for the sisters. Sister, if the brother is trying to talk to you personally, then know that there's something wrong. And brothers, if the sister is talking to you directly, then also know that there's something wrong about her. Brother Ahmed from Yemen, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Go ahead, Akhi.
Yeah, I hope it's clear.
I can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to add a point that this haram relationship, first, it's the way, I mean, this thing, first of all, it's the way you came, where do you came from? How did your parents treated you? You get me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother. Continue.
Hello?
I can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. As I said, how our parents treat us. So, they are our teachers, and before yesterday or 2 days before, I've had my friends, a group of my friends. One of my friends told me that I stopped chatting with my girlfriend. I don't know, like this. I said, no, this is not fair. This is not good. It's not because you are doing this because of Ramadan. Then when Ramadan finishes, you go back again. This is, I mean, everything will go. It's not fair. So, our parents, inshallah, I will pray to all my lost brothers and sisters. May Allah put them in Sirat al-Mustaqim. And inshallah, we will solve this problem in by Allah.
Inshallah. Thank
you.
Jazakallah khairan. Barakallah feek, Brother Ahmed. Such a very important point. We only have about a minute left in the episode. I want to do something that we didn't agree to before the episode. Do you mind coming tomorrow to continue talking about this topic?
Inshallah, it's a wide topic. I was expecting a lot of telephone calls, because on the internet it is extremely busy.
Let's talk maybe tomorrow, inshallah, we can talk about some of the solutions to this problem, because subhanAllah, it's such a huge topic, and as you saw, we're getting a lot of phone calls from different parts of the world, because this is what I believe, brothers and sisters. I believe that it may be, we all may be living in different parts of the world, but it's the same shaitan. The same shaitan that's trying to make us follow his footsteps so that we can fall into the haram. So inshallah tomorrow, my dear brothers and sisters, we're going to continue with Sheikh Zainadine Johnson talking about this part 2 of haram relationships. So we're going to try to, as much as we can, dedicate it to solutions. If you are involved in these types of relationships, what should you do? If you're not, how can you avoid them so that you don't end up being like the sister that Sheikh Zain talked about tonight? Jazakumullah khairan for being with us tonight. I hope tonight's episode was of benefit. I hope it's a point of reflection for every sister, especially. For every sister, especially after you saw this video. And of course for every brother who has taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who wouldn't want to do to a sister what could be done to his own family. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Love, I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, Lord, I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, help this man, help this man.